I'm Kylie G. Welcome to my little corner of the interweb where I talk all things knitting. Today is Saturday the 14th of January 2023. And if you're watching this not long after I've recorded, this will probably go live Sunday or Monday morning, depending on the YouTube gods. I am coming to you from tropical far north Queensland in Australia, where I live with my tradie husband and my obligatory knitter's cat, Bob. Where can you find me? You can find me on Ravelry as Kylie G and on Instagram as I am Kylie G. Please jump over and say g'day, like me, share, all of those Instagrammy things, and let's help to keep the nitty chat going. Before I get started, if you actually like the content and you want to be made aware of any new regular podcasts that I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the little bell. The little bell will send you a message and let you know that one of my videos has gone live. I'm back here generally about once a fortnight. I'm trying to be really good about that. And since I made that promise, I've been pretty good. So, what are we talking about today? Today is an interesting day. I've got some FOs. If I've got an FO, a hoe, and no new cast-ons today. However, if you're after some knitty inspiration, I have put together about a 5-minute clip of all of the fingering weight patterns that people suggested in the last video. So I've put that together, and there are some new to me patterns, some old favourites that are tried and tested and are favourites for a reason, but there's also some pretty let's just say, okay, my queue got longer going through them all. I have up until now I'm pretty sure I've replied to everybody who sent me a message or left a comment on one of my videos. A little bit slack doing that this time round. I only finished that this morning, and that's because I've been on holidays, and being on holidays means I knit a hell of a lot more than I do when I'm working. So one would think that I actually have more to show, but I'm resisting cast-on-itis. Okay, let's get to it. We also, the one final thing, we also have a winner of our gorgeous Aussie yarn gift basket, if you like, that will be winging its way to somebody in the very near future. I'll get that off in the post on Monday, or as soon as I've heard from the winner and have an address to send it to. So, what have you been up to? 2 weeks into 2023. Have you broken your New Year's resolution, or are you maintaining the pace? I promised myself that I would be walking every day because I love to. I live on the beach, so I'm really lucky. I get to walk the beach and see it every day. Rain, hail or shine was the deal. However, I bought myself some new joggers and promptly ended up with a blister the size of Tasmania on the back of my foot. So, not to be outdone, I figured I'll do the walk in my Birkenstocks. I'll put a band-aid on it, and I'm just gonna harden up, have a cup of concrete, and get the walking done. My Birkenstocks gave me blisters, so I took that as a sign from the universe that I was on holidays and I needed to put my feet up and heal. Oh, for goodness sake, who can't maintain walking on a daily basis? I mean, for the love of all things blissful. Anyway, back to it. Back to work in a couple of days. I've had a lovely break, and I've got some knitting to show you because I actually got some knitting done in the break. first things first, let's start with my FO. This is a big one. My half and half wrap is finished, people. Isn't she beautiful? Isn't she stunning? Now, I can see this being an absolute favourite. The colours are just beautiful. It smells divine. I blocked it in Tuft Woolens wash, the soap. Very nice. And it did take a little bit of time to dry because we have been very, very wet and damp. The monsoon season has definitely arrived here. My husband's currently sitting on the back deck having a beer with a mate, and it is steamy out there. Not at all jealous about not being out there having a bevy with them. It's much nicer in my little yarny paradise with the air conditioning on. Anyway, all that to say, it did take a couple of days to dry because of the humidity, but I am very, very happy with the progress. So promptly after I got last episode edited, I picked up this gorgeous piece of blissful potato chippy knitting, and I was here. Okay, so this, I figured that amount of knitting would take me a day at best. No, 3 days of monogamous knitting to get that amount done. So it is not a project for the faint of heart. This is, of course, I've knit this in Holstgarn Coast in the colourways Powder is the pink and Ecru. Now all of the details are on my Ravelry page. I have not yet done FOs, finished photos for this particular project. So but I'm resisting casting on another one because I'd like to get some other stuff off my needles before I dive too deep into New Year's goals and resolutions. And I've got some interesting things I'd like to try that I'll share with you a little bit later in the episode. So that's my first and only FO, but it is very nice to have this off my needles. So that is the half and half triangle wrap by Pearl Soho. Pretty, isn't it? How great would this be on a plain and a chill, because it's nice and light. So there we go. FO number one. FO only one. FO. So I'll put that over there. I need to get some photos of it. I gave it a steam this morning in the hope that I would get it photographed. But it has been a day. It's taken me a while to get here today. Anyway, so that's my first FO. Now, next, I might mention what I'm actually wearing. So under my, see, I've got a jacket on for a reason. It's a little bit gapey. Under my gorgeous Tommy Bahama linen, linen jacket here, I have the Isadora top that is knitting for Olive, Merino and Silk, I believe. Yes, it is. Now this has some, I'll stand up, I don't know if you can see me in my daggy denim shorts, but can you see that gorgeous detail down the side there? Very flattering once I get more walking in and you know, have lost that tyre that I found late last year that sits here now. But it's this, honest to God, I had a look on my Ravelry page because I put some photos of this up today on Instagram and then shared it to Ravelry, and I think it took me less than a month to knit, and I wouldn't have knit on it monogamously at all. But I did it as a test knit at the time. All the details are down here. Name and the name of the pattern creator. So yeah, there you go. Gorgeous, isn't it? And then over here on Frankie, my little busty mannequin over here, that is the Dingley Dell by Isabel Kramer. Now I also knit that one in Coast yarn. It was a little bit big when I finished it. I tend to overestimate my size. I know I'm a big girl, but you know, I go, oh no, I'm going to need to knit bigger than that. So I do, and that's too big. And nobody wants to grow into their knitting. Right, am I right? Nobody wants to be growing into their knitting. So I popped it in the dryer for a bit. Not long. And it's worked. I wear that one a fair bit. So that's pretty cool. So that's the Dingley Dell by Isabel Kramer, which is another nice V-neck. You can see that I quite like the V-necks on things. So there you go. 3 finished objects I can talk to you about, and I really only finished one. Managed to get my 3-colour cashmere cowl blocked, all the ends stitched in and all of those things, which is great. Gosh, that really does stick out, doesn't it? That extra white row. Not that you'll be able to tell once it's on, but that's ready for photographing as well. So I need to do some photos over the next couple of days. I might do them tomorrow, or being my last day of my holidays, I might just sit and knit. Anyway, so that's 3-colour cashmere cowl that was finished last episode, but I've managed to get it blocked and all of that sort of stuff. I haven't been able to get the photos done because I've wanted to knit. So there you go. If you give me a moment, I'm just going to pop the air conditioner down a tad because it's quite warm in here under the lights. Won't be a second. It'll be freezing cold in here in a minute. Just watch. Okay. I'm actually, before we go any further, I promised I would share, I've got some whips to update you with. And I've made some good progress on those whips. I've got some exciting things to talk to you about. But I thought that I would share with you a couple of tips from episode 12. Remember I asked you for your best knitting tips, and you were people were kind enough to share with me some pretty awesome tips. So Wendy shared this one with me, and it really hit home with me. Let me just relax here a little bit. Wendy's advice was to simply keep knitting. It'll get you through the good times and the bad times. Wendy's been knitting for more than 50 years, so she's got a bit of experience under her belt, and and speaks to us from a place of knowledge rather than, just as a whim. So, yeah, Wendy, you're so right. Knitting is my joy. So, it's got me through some rough patches as well as some fun times. So keep knitting. That's Wendy's tip. Lois Marie, has suggested with hot weather knitting that you actually pop your knitting on a table. Sit yourself at a table, probably with a fan under the table blowing on your legs, and to keep your knitting off your lap, which she said worked really, really well. And Denise Bubbles recommended that you use your patterns on an iPad so that you can actually enlarge them. I'm doing that because that's what you do on the screen. You enlarge the pattern, which would be great for really poor eyesight. And I must admit, all of your tips about using Knit Companion that you shared with me last fortnight, I went away and watched all of the Very Pink Knits videos on how to use Knit Companion, and whilst I haven't quite mastered it, I certainly am getting more out of it than I was before, so much so that I'm considering paying for doing a paid version of the Knit Companion, which gives you some more features, but I just want to make sure that I'm actually going to be using it on the regular before I press buy, because at the end of the day it's about the cost of a skein of yarn. Nice skein of yarn, but it's about the cost of a skein of yarn. So do I want to spend money on that or not, and we'll see. So I'm being very diligent and waiting before I press buy on the subscription for it. And my final tip, now if you haven't watched all of my episodes back from the beginning and you haven't been here since the beginning, I have a tip that it's just brilliant. I use pony cord instead of using waste yarn. Now, I don't know, do they call them barber cords or something like that? Whatever. That's not what I use. I actually use pony cord. Now, I picked this up, sorry for the plastic, I picked this up at my local craft store, relatively inexpensive, and there's loads of it, loads and loads and loads of it. So I think that was $4 Australian, which is I think 3 cents US and 2 cents in the UK. No, it's really inexpensive. So it's called pony cord or bead cord, and this is what I use instead to put my knitting on hold. And the other great tip is, instead of tying it in a knot, I find it's quite slippery. I've actually got a project with some in here at the minute, and I'll show you in a second. It comes undone quite easily, so you need to be careful about how you secure it. So what I have found is I use these little toggles. Now I'm going to see if you can see them. Look at my long nails, it makes it hard to see. But those little toggles that you thread 2 cords through, and they're spring loaded, and they hold the pony cord firm. It has a memory. The pony cord has a memory, so it goes back to what it's meant to be, and that has been and it's so much easier. It's been a pretty revolutionary tip. I meant to finish that sentence. And what I have also found is that I'm not reluctant to try garments on anymore, because it's not going to take me an hour and a half to get all the stitches onto waste yarn, and then all the stitches back onto my needles and orientated the correct way. It's just certainly much easier. So that's my little tip for that's a Kylie tip. There you go. Pony cords and toggle clips. So there you go. Really inexpensive way to do things. Now onto my hoe. Now this is something I need a little bit of help from you guys. You guys are so incredibly generous with your with sharing your opinions and advice. And somebody made a comment in the YouTube comments that we are starting to develop a little bit of a community here on the I Am Kylie G channel, because people are talking to each other, and there's, you know, we're sharing advice and sharing patterns, and it's just lovely. Honest to God, it lights me up. Anyway, all that to say, I'm after your advice. Is this gorgeous little sock, isn't it cute, a pattern that you would want to knit? Now, I don't have a sock blocker. I've got a foot. No, I'm not going to do that. That would just be bad. You'll end up getting a view of my cellulite that nobody deserves. Anyway, if you can see that gorgeous little frill at the top? It's got a rolled cuff there as well. I've used my favourite heel, which is like a cobblestone heel, and it's got a nice little cute, just a simple braid style stitch down the side. So this it doesn't have a pattern. It is one that I just knit, and I'm asking you, is this a pattern that you would like to knit? Would you buy this pattern? My intention was never to be a designer, so a knitwear designer, and I don't know who I think I am even contemplating it, but it's such a cute little pattern. Imagine those sitting outside the top of your boots, you know, your Blundstones or your Docs. Do people still wear Doc Martens? I don't know. But even my R.M. Williams, you know, my boots. Cute, hey? So this is my hoe. I haven't even cast the second one on yet, because I was desperately trying to get some stuff finished so that I had some content for today's episode. But I'll get that on in the next couple of days, because I would love a pair of them. So these are, I've got a name in mind for them, and I'll see what you say. Let me know in the down bar below if this is a pattern that you guys would like to knit, or are they just a little bit too little girly for grown-up girls like me and boys and others. Yeah, so that's a hoe. There we go. Pretty. Oh, sorry, what have I knit that in? Gosh, not very good YouTuber, am I? This is the oat colourway and the cumin colourway from Nundle Woolen Mill and their sock yarn. So cumin and oat. Pretty. Such a rustic colour, very farm-like. So there we go. That's my hoe. Now I have been doing a little bit of sock knitting. I've been enjoying the sock knitting. So these are the Let's Stay Home socks. I was here when I last showed these to you. So I have now turned the heel and I'm into the foot. And so I was here. Now this Nancy Wheeler pattern, it's called the Let's Stay Home socks, and I'll put that here. Beautiful potato chippy pattern. Really easy to memorize. It's a 6 pattern repeat. Not a lot happens for 4 rows, and then you've got a little bit of action to keep you interested, and then you're back at it. I am thoroughly enjoying this. And in Nancy's pattern, she actually calls for different heels and toes and just a kiss of colour, contrast colour on the cuff, just a kiss. I was in the car. We were going up to the Tablelands with my mother-in-law for lunch and to do a spot of shopping. And my husband was driving and I was knitting, lucky me. And I was in the car and I just started knitting the heel without thinking about it. So the heel is not in its contrast colour, as you can clearly see, but I still really like that. So that's with my cobblestone heel that I really like. That's it's a no purl heel. Let's face it, we all like knitting socks in the round because there's not a lot of purling that goes on. So yeah. So these are just flying off the needles because, you know, it's just like one more pattern repeat, one more pattern repeat. And it makes it easy to count your stitches, your rows, so that you end up with a sock that to the recipe that you like, because it's 6 rows to a pattern repeat. So really happy with that. I'm knitting this in Lolo Did It plush sock in the Sunday Morning colourway, which has got some gorgeous black blips in. I don't know if you can see, but it's got some gorgeous black blips in it, but it's mostly pink. And the black blips kind of make it look tweedy, but it's not. So yeah, that's really enjoying that. Now, as I said, I am resisting casting on anything new until I get something off my needles, because last fortnight I'd finished one thing and cast on 2 more. So I tend to get a little bit overwhelmed if I've got too much going on. And I did a really big clean out of my yarn storage facility or, you know, the spare room or the office or whatever we want to call it. But essentially it's a yarn storage facility. Over behind the camera I've got floor to ceiling built-in wardrobes, and one half of that is now the home to all of my sweater quantities of yarn. And so I managed to do that. It took me a ridiculous amount of time to get done. Better part of a day. I moved furniture and all sorts of things. I move furniture. My husband and I move furniture. But what I'm yet to do is go through this here and sort through this. It does need a little bit of sorting out. But in the sorting out, what I did was I went through all of my whips and pulled out what I was no longer in love with. Now I want to show you something. When I did that, these haven't been put away yet. They're just sitting on the bookcase over here. Oh, crap. I mean, goodness. These are all the knitting needles that came out of project bags that had projects on them that I wasn't in love with anymore. So, all that to say, oh, and I found my crochet hook. It's hiding in a bag. All that to say, I'm going to try this year to be a little more focused. I don't know that I will. We're only 2 weeks in. The chances are it'll all go belly up quite quickly. Because, you know. But anyway, there we go. So that's sort of a little shameful, really. I'll pop that down here now. I will put those away before I leave this room, because this room is tidy now. I know where everything is, and we want to keep it that way. That's why I'm sitting at a different angle. That's why Frankie's there, and you know, things have changed. So anyway, onwards and upwards. That's enough babbling. My next whip, which is attached to yarn over here, is my Faye top. Isn't she coming along nicely? Now, when we last chatted, I was just, I think, about ½ an inch into the underarm. I've since done 2 repeats, 2 bauble repeats, and it calls for 5. I've done 2, and if you look, 3 more will just cover my belly button. So we're going to do some more. It's going to be more than 5 repeats. I gave it a steam so it was nice and pretty when I showed you. It's this knit, now that it's in the round, is much easier to knit. And the pattern is quite, as I said, potato chippy and easy to remember. The thing that I will say about knitting this in the Holst held double is that it can be a little hard on your hands if you aren't mindfully relaxing your hands when you're knitting. There is a tendency to make sure that you get the definition in the twisted ribs here. You really do need to make sure that you snug the stitch after the rib, after you've knit it. So when you sort of whack it through, you carry the yarn to the back of your work to do the purl bumps, you need to sort of give it a little bit of a firm tug, gentle but firm. And that can be quite fatiguing on the hands. So I generally only get 1/2 a repeat done at a time before I need to actually put it down and knit on something that's woolly and lovely, which is why the socks have been so great, because you know I can knit socks with my eyes closed. So that's just my little observation in knitting this particular garment. Really loving it. I'm really looking forward to having this in my wardrobe. I think it will be just lovely, just lovely. So there we go. And this colour, hey, this is as I've mentioned before, is the candy colourway in the Holst Coast, which Coast have got a sale on at the moment. So I would like to thank the enabler who sent me a message on Instagram because they've got 20% off their caked yarn, and that's Coast and Super Soft. But I may have bought Coast Titicaca, which isn't on sale, and their sock yarn, which isn't on sale. So, not bad. And one of my favourite, while we talk about shopping, one of my favourite yarn shops in Brisbane, the owner is retiring, which is great for her. Because after I've had 3 weeks off, I actually think I could do retirement really, really well. Really well. I haven't been bored once. But, yeah, good for her. Sad for me. So I took advantage of a little sale that she's got and bought some yarn for a project and that I'm really excited about. So anyway, moving on. It's enough chatter, Kylie. Gosh. So that's my third whip, which is the Fay top, which I'll put here in Holscan Coast and the colourway Candy. It's really pretty, isn't it? Okay, pop that over here. Now, I've got one more whip. You'll be very proud of me. This didn't even look like anything. Now it just looks like a bad boob tube. Let me just see what happens when you're organised. You just know exactly where things are, and I'll just grab a T-pin, pop it in the front so that it's easier for you to see this. This is Still Water by Marie Green, Live Knits. I am knitting this in the Wool of the Andes, which is a worsted weight yarn. And I'll put the colourway here because I can't actually recall what it is, and I haven't got it. The rest of the yarn is out by my chair. So when we chatted last time, I was here. So it was a baby jumper, baby cardigan. And this is knitting up quite quickly. This is, I promised myself I would get to the under the arms. Sorry, I'll keep that still. Under the arms, and then I would put it down and concentrate on getting some other stuff done. So yeah, and now this is the pattern that I am road testing Knit Companion with, and it's great because it has a chart, it has some unusual repeats. Now it's just knit, which is great. But it has been a really simple project for me to road test Knit Companion with. And so far so good. So remember I mentioned to you in my tip about the toggles. So this makes sure that those arm bits won't come off. And when I'm knitting it on it, I cinch them right up so that I haven't got stuff sort of flapping about, but it makes it super easy for me to drop them down if I'm wanting to try it on. It gives me plenty of room. So yeah, really enjoying this knit. This will be a lovely cardigan to wear with jeans and my cute little socks. Yeah. When I finally get to down south where it's a little bit cooler. The great thing about this yarn is I'm split splicing it. I'm into my second ball, about to start my third. So I've got loads of this. I've probably got enough for another cardigan or something afterwards. So really happy with that. It's a rustic wool, but yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And knitting a worsted weight, which is something that, you know, I don't do because, you know, tropics, it's hot. So there we go. So that's all I have. I actually have no acquisitions. I have been shopping and I'd hoped that one very special acquisition had arrived, but it's been delayed by the manufacturer or by the supplier. So which is a shame, but looking forward to sharing that one with you. And I have done a little bit of shopping and it's on its way. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to announce the winner of the Aussie yarn basket and gifts. Now, if you remember correctly, let me just grab it quickly. All in a basket, ready to go to the post office. Now, I mentioned that there's a bonus bit of yarn in here actually, because I got confused and the galah sockway, the galah colourway from Jubilee. Okay, I'm going to start that again. I'm just so excited to be giving this away. I love presents. This colourway, this particular skein of yarn from Circus Tonic, in their Jubilee sock base, which is 75 superwash merino, 25 nylon, in the galah colourway. I don't think I was originally going to give this away. It wasn't part of the original plan, but I've said it now and I'm really happy to share it. So that's one skein of yarn. The second skein of yarn is from Yarn by Jane. Very similar colourways. You can see that I have a type, don't I? Yeah, I have a type. Pink, grey, yeah. A little bit of green in this one. This is Yarn by Jane, and this is in the, Kissed by a Rose colourway, which is just lovely. So there's that, and then there's this one. Now I know I bought this one for the giveaway particularly. This is from Skein Yarn out of northwestern New South Wales. This is her all-rounder base, which is 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon, and this colourway is called Tropical. Now this looks like Finding Nemo. This looks like Nemo and kelp had a party under the ocean, and it's just like coral pesto, isn't it? So cute. I think that would knit up in a gorgeous pair of socks or a one skein project. So very, very different to these, but it's a Nemo colour. Nemo and kelp salad. Ooh. Lobster and avocado salad. Shrimp and avocado salad. Am I twisted because I'm talking about Nemo and then I'm thinking food? Okay, so there's 3 skeins of yarn. Then there is, of course, the Tim Tams. And I've popped in some Nundle sock yarn as well, and the Indigenous art piece from an Aboriginal artist just outside of Cairns here. So just as a reminder, the lucky winner of that who I drew earlier today. Her name is BB Granger. I'll put it here. Congratulations, BB. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. I'm so excited. This is my first giveaway, and thank you to everybody who took the time to share their favourite patterns with me. They're in order to enter the competition. Interestingly enough, competition, the draw, the giveaway, whatever. Sorry, let me get that out of the way. Interestingly enough, not a lot of views on the last video. So I think we had 120 people who entered. So it was a pretty small pool of people for that wonderful gift that's will be winging its way to somebody to BB very shortly. So BB, if you can email me here with your full name and your address, I will get that in the post to you on Monday. Now, the great thing about what happened with the giveaway was everybody shared with me their favourite fingering weight pattern. Now, needless to say, my queue grew significantly. Now, what so often happens in these comments in YouTube things is that your comment goes into the ether and then it's just, shared. But what I wanted to do was to let you all know and inspire you a little bit, maybe to look at some new patterns. So there are very definitely some new to me designers in the mix, some patterns I wasn't aware of. There are some old favourites, and they're favourites for a reason. They're favourites that have got a lot of finished projects on Ravelry, but certainly there's some good ones. There's some real good ones. So I've put together a really short video with a little bit of music, with the name of the pattern and the designer. Now, I am not going to link these below because there are so many. It took me a good few hours to pull together this little bit of a slideshow that goes for about 5 minutes. But I wanted to share it with you. So here's my tip. Grab a pen and some paper and be prepared to hit pause. If you like something, let me know in the comments below if you're actually going to be knitting anything from the gorgeous gallery that I have coming up right now. how was that? There's some gorgeous patterns in there, aren't there? Just some absolute stunners. I'm really excited to get some of this stuff off my needles and some of that onto my needles. Anyway, if you have enjoyed the content here today, please hit like, give me a thumbs up. YouTube likes that. Subscribe to the channel. I'm putting out a video every fortnight, and I hope you find it interesting and full of inspirational knitting content. Like, subscribe, follow me over on Instagram, and please feel free to friend me on Ravelry. I will be back again in a fortnight to give you some more inspiration and share my knitting journey with you. In the meantime, my one solid piece of advice for knitters everywhere is, if you don't love it, stop knitting it. Have a great week, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.